You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it, and it goes down smooth. Hey!
Spanning the continent to bring you the truth about cannabis and marijuana law reform.
I smoke pot and I like it a lot.
The Russ Belville Show, the voice of the marijuana nation. Now, here's your host, Radical Russ Belville.
Good day, tokers and tokettes and non-toking lovers of liberty. It is Tuesday, August 18th, 2015, and it's got to be 420 somewhere in the world. Thanks for joining us here for another 2 hours of news, interviews, speeches, bands, all sorts of great stuff on today's show, all by, for, and about the cannabis community. We're available on iTunes and Stitcher. You can catch us on the live stream at 420radio.org or the TuneIn Radio app, and soon other places. I can't tell you much more than that right now, but we're in negotiations with a bunch of folks, and things are looking pretty good for the Russ Belville Show, so we'll keep you posted. We've also got all sorts of great author interviews coming up in the future. I just received the 2-volume set. My God, Dr. David Bierman has gone beyond the pale and created the 2-volume set, Drugs Are Not the Devil's Tools, How Discrimination and Greed Created a Dysfunctional Drug Policy and How It Can Be Fixed. So we'll talk to him pretty soon. I think next week we get Dr. Bierman's on this week, I believe. Let me make sure on the calendar there. Yeah, Dr. David Bierman will be with us on Thursday discussing those books. Tomorrow we've got Doug Fine with our Hemp Day Hump Day. And today in our Reformers Reader, we're going to talk to David M. Weitzmann. David M. Weitzmann is the author of Living a Life That Matters, a memoir of the Marquis de Lafayette. And we're going to talk about the Fourth Amendment, the encroachment on personal freedom, and how the American Revolution fits into that philosophically. So be some good historical discussion. We'll also take your questions in the chat room, I should say, at 420radio.org if you got questions for Mr. Weitzmann on Fourth Amendment. Also on the show today, we're still unpacking much more of our audio from Seattle Hemp Fest, all sorts of great stuff to play for you today. We'll start in our Behind the Headlines with the introduction to the Seattle Hemp Fest on day one. It was the only music that got to be played on day one because the stages got rained out and we suffered thunderstorms and lightning. But I was really impressed to see Tina Hendricks, the niece of Jimi Hendrix, the Seattle native. Tina Hendricks opened up the show with a fantastic performance of the national anthem in Jimi Hendrix style on her green electric violin. It has to be heard to be believed. We'll play that for you right after the 420 Radio News, followed by Jeremy Daw. He's with The Leaf Online, good friend and activist here in the West Coast. His speech from the main stage. We got Vivian McPeak's speech at the VIP party. Vivian McPeak, of course, the executive director of Seattle Hemp Fest. And then at the end of the show, we'll take you back to the Normal booth where we visited with Joy Beckerman from Hemp Ace International and Normal Women of Washington. And then we will finish things up with Doug McVeigh. Doug McVeigh from Drug War Facts and the Drug Policy Facts podcast that you hear on 420 Radio. And then in hour two, we've got for you some Jorge Cervantes, Lindsay Reinhart backstage. We got some Seattle Hemp Fest music from a band called Red Wing Blackbirds. And then at the end of the show, an extended interview with the founder of Normal, Keith Stropp, on that rainy Friday in Seattle. It's the Russ Belville Show here on 420radio.org. Thanks for joining us. We'll take a break. And when we come back, we've got the 420 Radio News for you. Headlines coming to you from Arizona, Washington, D.C., Maine, New Jersey, Idaho, and tennis in Canada. How does that fit with weed? We'll explain when we come back.
You're tuned into the Russ Belville Show, the voice of the marijuana nation.
420 Radio, your ticket to Seattle Hemp Fest.
Hi, I'm Alex Rogers, producer of the 4th Oregon Medical Marijuana Business Conference, the OMMBC. There have been a lot of recent changes to Oregon cannabis laws. Recreational sales start October 1st, new licensing from the state, and changes to medical marijuana. Are you prepared? Join us at the downtown Portland Hilton September 12th and 13th with the industry's top cannabis business experts, political leaders, exhibitors, and nightly networking events. For more information, join us online or give us a call. The OMMBC. Be part of history.
420 Radio is listener-supported 24-hour internet radio. Our mission is to provide exposure to the activists nationwide fighting for the end of marijuana prohibition. You can help sustain our mission with a one-time donation to 420 Radio at 420radio.org/donate. You can also become a monthly VIP member at 420radio.org/donate and get access to our members-only content. Your donation keeps our stream and podcasts free at 420radio.org/donate.
420 Radio is brought to you by Sacred Serum, who is focused on creating elegant and sophisticated cannabis solutions through its line of dispensers and vaporizers that come preloaded with the world's finest cannabis concentrate. Sacred Serum's concentrate is made on pharmaceutical-grade supercritical CO2 extraction machines that use absolutely no butane or other toxic chemicals. The Vesica, the company's innovative new way to dab and frost, is now available in dispensaries across California. Sacred Serum, elegance and sophistication concentrated.
It's time for the 420 Radio News, covering the latest headlines in consumer cannabis, medical marijuana, and industrial hemp. Replays of 420 Radio News are embeddable and shareable from our SoundCloud page at soundcloud.com/RadicalRuss. Now, the marijuana headlines in 4 minutes and 20 seconds. This is your 420 Radio News for Tuesday, August 18th, 2015. Early results are in for a new welfare drug testing regime in Maine. They caught the guy. From April through June, the state only attempted to screen 15 out of about 5,700 temporary assistance for needy families recipients, according to an Associated Press investigation published Thursday. And just one person tested positive. One single cup of dirty urine out of a pool of thousands of recipients might seem surprisingly low, but it's actually typical. Welfare drug testing schemes never catch a significant number of drug users. Maine's program targets beneficiaries with past felony drug convictions and only subjects them to urinalysis if they flunk a questionnaire. Of the 15 people who have been screened since the program went into effect in April, 13 were barred from receiving benefits because they didn't show up for the screening assessment or for the subsequent urine test. A team of 27 journalism students from the Carnegie Knight News 21 program at Arizona State University released a wide-ranging investigative series on marijuana this week that focuses on the evolving culture and legality of the plant. The students from 19 universities across the country and Canada traveled to more than 23 states and interviewed hundreds of individuals for America's Weed Rush, according to an ASU statement. The student journalists talked to a variety of cannabis users, medical patients, cops, and prohibitionists from Alaska to the Deep South to produce the multimedia series, which includes 10 videos and 11 databases containing search boxes, interactive maps, and other useful features. Research on marijuana's potential for medicinal use has been hampered for years by federal restrictions, even though nearly half of the states and the District of Columbia have legalized medical marijuana in some form. An analysis by News 21 shows that $1.1 billion of the $1.4 billion that the National Institute of Health spent on marijuana research from 2008 to 2014 went to study abuse and addiction. Only $297 million was spent on its effects on the brain and potential medical benefits for those suffering from conditions like chronic pain. Fewer than 1,000 NIH-supported researchers' projects studied marijuana for purposes other than abuse or addiction in the last 7 years. While NIH spent $297 million on grants for non-abuse research of marijuana, it provided 2 to 4 times as much for similar research of opiates and benzodiazepines, including drugs such as Xanax. The family of an autistic epileptic New Jersey teen say they'll continue the legal battle to administer medical marijuana to their daughter on school grounds. The Barber family had planned to file an emergency order Monday in hopes of forcing the school district to allow Jenny Barber's mother to give Jenny medical marijuana at school. Last week, Administrative Law Judge John Kennedy denied the family's appeal of an early ruling. again siding with the Lark School in Belmar and the Maple Shade School District, upholding their argument that state law does not allow the administration of medical marijuana on school grounds. Since April, the family's been picking Jenny, age 16, up from school at noon and bringing her home to administer her second of 4 prescribed doses of medical marijuana. Jenny does not return to school after going home for the noon dose because it is too disruptive to her routine, the family contends. If you're looking for milepost 420, you won't find it in Idaho. Idaho transportation officials say the mile marker has been replaced with 419.9 signs to curb thieves eager to own a number associated with marijuana enthusiasts. Turns out Idaho isn't alone in this problem. States like Washington and Colorado have also replaced 420 signs with 419.9 after consistently having to replace them after thefts by supposed sticky-fingered stoners. Adam Rush of the Idaho Transportation Department says officials have replaced the old signs along U.S. Highway 95 with mile 419.9 just south of Coeur d'Alene. Rush added that this is the only 420 sign the department has replaced. Most highways in Idaho don't cover more than 400 miles. World number 1 tennis player Novak Djokovic had just won the first set of his semifinal match against France's Jeremy Chardy at the Rogers Cup in Montreal, Canada, a match he would go on to win comfortably, when he complained to the chair umpire that someone was smoking marijuana in the stands. Quote, "Someone is smoking weed. I can smell it. I'm getting dizzy," end quote, Djokovic said, according to the BBC. The 28-year-old later told reporters it wasn't the first time in the tournament he detected the traces of marijuana in the air. This is your 420 Radio News for Tuesday, August 18th, 2015. I'm Russ Belville.
Warning. Hits taken on this show are larger than they appear. Do not try this at home. These people are professionals. Or at least they pay me to say that.
The Fingerboard extension has fretted instruments to enhance your creativity. It has new and used guitars and banjos from beginning to high class. The Fingerboard extension has National Resophonic, Husson Dalton, Larrabee, Heritage and Recording King guitars, and Mike Ramsey, Wildwood, Gold Tone and Recording King banjos. The Fingerboard extension also has drum stuff, used gear, and parts. Stop by the Fingerboard extension, downtown Corvallis, Oregon at 120 Northwest 2nd, or check out the inventory on the web at fingerboardextension.com and reverb.com.
There's so much I worry about as a mom. Stephen Harper thinks that organized crime should continue to profit from marijuana prohibition. Imagine regulating marijuana like alcohol and cigarettes with a strong and clear educational message, making it more difficult for my kids and your kids to access. Drug dealers don't ask for ID. Stephen Harper does not have the kind of judgment we need to protect our children, authorized by the Normal Women's Alliance of Canada.
Oregon has joined Washington and Colorado in legalizing marijuana. We're Portland NORML, the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws chapter in Portland, Oregon. Join us as we celebrate the launch of an exciting new era in marijuana freedom in Oregon. Our job has just begun. Powerful interests want to white out the most important portions of Oregon's legalization law. By joining Portland NORML, you add your voice to the thousands who voted for Measure 91 and want it to be implemented as written. The people have spoken. Now it is time for the legislature to obey the will of the people. Find out more about Portland NORML at portlandnormal.org. Attend our monthly membership meetings on the 4th Saturday of the month. See our website for more details. Portland NORML, ensuring responsible adult marijuana consumers are afforded the same rights, privileges, and responsibilities as beer drinkers. We go back to Seattle Hemp Fest, where Tina Hendricks, the niece of the famed Jimi Hendrix, opens up the ceremony on her electric violin. And then we're going to follow that up with Jeremy Daw from The Leaf Online, his speech on the main stage at Seattle Hemp Fest. But first, Tim Pate introducing Tina Hendricks.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Tim Pate. For the past 19 years, I've been up here on this stage playing the national anthem for you, and it's been my honor and privilege to do so. My health is in failing position right now. Simple as that. I can't do it. And so we were going to play a recording of me, and I'm going, well, that's all right. But we couldn't find a recording, and then we were going to do a recording of Jimi Hendrix on the national anthem. And instead, we got a message here a week ago, and I'd like to introduce to you the niece of Jimi Hendrix, Tina Hendrix, to play the national anthem.
I'm honored to be here, and thank you so much. It's an honor.
I'd like to introduce the editor of the LeafOnline.com, a good brother, Jeremy Daw. He's come to speak his truth to you. Give it up.
Thank you, Vivian. This is the most awesome event that I attend every single year. Thank you so much to all the volunteers for making it happen. And thank you, HempFest, for being here. I know you all brought your reasons for being here. And we're all like the ensemble effect. You know how medical cannabis works. It doesn't work by just one compound working. It's working by all of the compounds work together. And that is how our movement is. You might be here for the environment. You might be here for freedom. You might be here for social justice. You might be here for the economy. There are almost as many reasons to be here as there are cannabinoids, but I want to talk about one reason that I've been thinking about a lot lately. I come from Berkeley, California, and where I live, we have practically every week we have another rally. People taking to the streets, banners high up in the wind talking about how Black Lives Matter. And of course they matter, but my only problem with these events, the only problem I have with these rallies is that we all go home at the end. I go back home to my life of privilege, and I'm aware of it. And there are others who go home to a very, very different life. I got a taste of this last year. I got arrested for cannabis. And it wasn't actually that big of a deal. I was able to get out of it. But I am pissed. I am pissed as all hell at the way that those cops humiliated me. They truncated my freedom. They took it away. And then, even just after one incident, one time in my life, I'm still pissed. Well, there are people who live with this every week. There are people who live with this practically every day. I know that you've read the ACLU report, the one that talks about how African Americans are 3.75 times more likely to be arrested than their white counterparts, even though we all use this herb at the same rate. Well, let me tell you, my arrest didn't end up in those statistics. They didn't even bother to write it down. How many more arrests are like that aren't even counted, that we don't even know about, that the ACLU doesn't even know about? And so what is my suggestion for what we can do after we get the word out, after we take to the streets about how Black Lives Matter? We need to go not to our homes, but to our phones, to our letters, to our emails. We need to talk to all of our legislatures. We need to talk to our governors. We need to write the president. We need to talk about the way that if the state can't use these cannabis laws in a way that is racially fair, you don't get to use them at all. We are taking them back. We are taking back our freedoms. I am tired. I am tired of taking the streets in protest because things aren't right. When's the party? When do we throw the party? Because we did it. We ended it. 350 years of staining history brought to an end, and we all get to look to each other. We all get to pass the joint to each other, and we all get to know that everyone in the circle is equal under the law. Thank you so much for coming here to help make it happen. Please join me. Let's make this future happen and support HempFest. Thank you.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
Great speech there by Jeremy Daw. Make sure you check out The Leaf online. Great journalism going on there. Mickey Norris, Chris Conrad started that as a paper long ago, and now it's moved online. Jeremy Daw doing some great work out there. When we come back, we've got the activist agenda. We'll give you Vivian McPeak's speech from the VIP party on Friday night. And then after that, Reformer's Reader with David Weitzmann. We're talking Fourth Amendment right after the bottom of the hour.
The Russ Belville Show, where we don't change our position on decriminalization in an election year.
This is Radical Russ encouraging you to take a look at the Weed Blog every day. Johnny Green and the staff at the Weed Blog are on top of all the latest developments in the fight to end marijuana prohibition nationwide. You can even get the Weed Blog on your smartphone by installing the Weed Blog app for iPhone and Android. If it's about weed, it's on the Weed Blog, including my original writing. So don't delay. Read the Weed Blog today. You're listening to 420 Radio. Listen Fridays at 1 p.m. Pacific for Planet Green Trees, podcasting at planetgreentrees.com. The best resource for everything related to Michigan medical marijuana with your host, attorney Michael Comorn. Check our online listings for Planet Green Trees with Michael Comorn from planetgreentrees.com. Get.Buzz. .Buzz is the internet platform that fuels community interest, excitement, and new experiences. .Buzz is the premier online destination for internet users seeking the latest news on a variety of topics. .Buzz appeals to groups active in blogging, communications, journalism, advertising, and marketing. .Buzz offers registrants a stronger alternative to the shrinking namespace of existing top-level domain names, such as .com, .net, and .org. Get your name now at get.buzz.
Activism begins with ACT. The Russ Belville Show features the stories of hardworking grassroots activists working for an end to prohibition in today's activist agenda.
All right, we take you to Friday night, the Seattle HempFest VIP party in the Hemposian tent after a day of rain.
I've ever been to in my life. Give it up for Vivian McPeak, everybody. Vivian McPeak.
How dry I am. All right, everybody. Hello, VIP party. I know that very few of you understand that VIP stands for very irie person. You know, it does rain in Seattle once in a while. But I tell you, in 30 years, I've rarely seen it rain like it did today. That hard and that long. Very interesting HempFest. We had about 40 bands scheduled. Not one of them performed. One of them came from Minneapolis. One of them came from Phoenix, Arizona, and one band drove up from LA. But what can you do? Tomorrow's supposed to be a lot nicer. It's supposed to be 80 degrees on Saturday. So I want to thank you all for being supporters of Seattle HempFest, for being speakers or members of Seattle HempFest. Those of you that are actually listening, it's been a very challenging year for us. Today, the rain is not going to help. I don't know, maybe a $40,000, $50,000 hit probably. all in all. But we'll bounce back and we'll keep going because while you are listening to me, somewhere in America, someone's getting those lights behind their car right now. Someone has their doors kicked in today, and they may lose their house, they may lose their job, they may lose their family, they may lose their freedom, and if they're holding a shiny device on their couch when the cops come in, they may lose their life. We might have legalized some pot here in Washington, but we're not even done here. We haven't even gone far enough in Washington State. We certainly haven't gone far enough in America. We're going to keep going because we need to repeal prohibition 100% on the federal level, deschedule from the federal schedule, or we're not stopping. That's why we do this. We've come a long ways, baby. So here's what's going to come down. First of all, I want to introduce Cyril Buana, who's not only the chairman of the board, he is the sponsorship and membership coordinator. He created the membership program. So he's the father of all of this, the VIP party and all of that stuff. So I want to tip my hat to my brother Cy. His code name in Hempfest is French Fry. And a few years ago it was Freedom Fry, but we're over that now. So anyway, I want to thank you all for coming. Tomorrow's going to be a different story. It's going to be slightly less humid than it was today. So here's what's going to happen. I'm going to introduce Boris Budd. Boris Budd's going to come up and do a few songs. Then I'm going to introduce Jim Page. Jim Page's going to do even more songs. They're going to give out a few awards, and then Guyo's going to go crazy because he's the funniest dude. I can't swear here, I don't think so. He's the funniest dude in America, maybe. So that's what's going to happen. If you're smart, you give a little bit of attention to the next few artists because they're pretty cool. Thank you so much. I love you all, Seattle Hempfest speakers and members. We got a silent auction going on right over here. A silent auction. Help us raise some of the money. I guess I should just be honest. We came to this Hempfest about $150,000 under budget. It's the worst year we've ever had. We're looking at maybe losing a few stages next year that we've had for 15 years. It's that bad. We only have 3 paid staff at all. In our offices all year, we might have to lose one of them this year. Someone who volunteered for 18 years for free. It's brutal. So please check out the silent auction tomorrow at the Space Needle. Hello! Hello, people talking! People talking! Just a second, please! I guess they're too stoned. It's our own fault. That's what we get for legalizing it. Tomorrow at the Space Needle, we've got our business mixer going on. There's still tickets available. We've never done anything like that. I've never even been in the Space Needle. It's going to be cool. Also, I've got a radio show on CannabisRadio.com called Hemp Present every week, and I am basically going to legalize marijuana one interview at a time. Just picked up from iHeartRadio because I heart you guys so much.
All right, Vivian McPeak at the busy Seattle Hempfest VIP party. Coming up next in our Reformers Readers segment, we've got David Weitzmann, author of Living a Life That Matters, a memoir of the Marquis de Lafayette. We're going to get into history of the American Revolution, the meaning of our Fourth Amendment, and what we can do as citizens to protect our rights. That interview is coming up next on The Russ Belville Show.
You're tuned into the Russ Belville Show, the voice of the marijuana nation. The Russ Belville Show reminds you to never smoke and drive impaired. Hang out for a while and share.
Hey everybody, it's Radical Russ here from 420 Radio, inviting you to be like me and get your ink done at Lucky Horseshoe Tattoo, Fort Worth's most female-friendly, clean, sterile, awesome tattoo shop. Thomas and his crew are true artists who can design you a custom piece or use a design you bring in. Lucky Horseshoe Tattoo also offers all styles of tattooing as well as piercings and all-around fun. In the DFW area, stop by Lucky Horseshoe Tattoo and tell them Radical Russ sent you. Trust me, it'll feel awesome.
Adam Hand of Handmade Apparel produces quality custom designs for t-shirts, hats, and other apparel. Handmade Apparel is the official design shop for 420 Radio, among many clients who rely on Adam Hand for everything from short-run custom projects to full-run clothing lines. Visit handmadeapparel.biz to browse the selection of handmade gear or to get a personal quote for your own designs. Handmade Apparel, a proud supporter of 420radio.org.
The best weapon you can have in the Prohibition War is your mind. Fill your head with the knowledge you need by checking out this latest entry in the Russ Belville Show's Reformer's Reader.
Today in the Reformer's Reader, we are taking a look at the book Living a Life That Matters, a memoir of the Marquis de Lafayette, and the author is joining us by telephone. It's David M. Weitzmann. David, welcome to the show.
Hello, how are you?
Well, I'm doing very good. I'm glad to have you on the show today because I'm telling you, our Fourth Amendment rights here is something that we talk about a lot on the Russ Belville Show. Since we're a show about marijuana law reform, our listeners are very familiar with having their rights being violated by police. And your book, Living a Life That Matters, delves a lot into this. And I'm just wondering about your perspective on the drug war and how it's weakened our Fourth Amendment and other civil rights.
Well, the police have an obligation to deal with crimes, but before that they can impose on you, they have to have probable cause to get a search warrant. And if they haven't done that, gone before a judge and stated probable cause, they're not entitled to send drones out or any other means of surveillance. They have to show to a judge, who is supposedly a neutral third party, that there is probable cause to believe that a crime is being committed.
Now, do you see, though, that the application of the law with respect to the drug war with drug dogs that are essentially, warrants on a leash and cops claiming they can smell marijuana as a perversion of that principle of Fourth Amendment rights?
Well, that's always a question that is going to be resolved in the courts. Obviously, there are cases where the smell of a dog has not been substantiated. But again, it always goes back to a question of evidence and having to show to a judge that the police dog had been trained, that in fact had made an indication that there were drugs present, and that there was a basis for the probable cause. If the police have not done this, and this is the obligation and duty of an attorney to question police about this and cross-examine them, then the case has to be thrown out of court.
Absolutely. Now, let's speak a little more broadly about the Fourth Amendment, because one of the things we've faced as cannabis consumers is an increase in the technologies used to come after it. We mentioned the drug dog, but there's also infrared scanning. There's all sorts of new technological ways that the Fourth Amendment seems to get broken. How can we protect ourselves about this, and what is there to be done?
Well, we can't, because one of the problems is that the technology is moving much faster than the brains of the politicians.
Well, it doesn't just about everything.
Yeah. Well, we have cell phones, we have drones, we have thermography, and the politicians, many many of them are elderly white males who have not are not really adept at modern technology. I know I have grandchildren that can run circles around me with regard to cell phones and computers and tweeting and all of that stuff. And I would say, you know, we have close to 500 people in the federal government. All the state legislatures vary in terms of the degree of sophistication of their people, but the technology is moving much faster than they're able to cope with. And there's nobody, we're still dealing in a kind of legal system that relates back to an antiquated constitution, an antiquated visions of things that are not in the 21st century. They're still back in the 1700s, 1776. Actually, the Constitution was about 20 years after that, but it just hasn't kept pace, and we have to have laws suggested that of knowledgeable people who can help the legislatures eventually enact the proper laws.
We're speaking with David M. Weitzmann. He's the author of Living a Life That Matters, a memoir of the Marquis de Lafayette. And you just mentioned the 18th century, the Constitution, the founding of this country. And for people that didn't get that education in school, who was the Marquis de Lafayette and why is he so important to us in American history?
Well, he was a young 19-year-old Frenchman who didn't know anybody in the 13 colonies, did not speak English, who decided that he wanted to come over here and help the colonists kick out the British. He was not the only foreigner that came. It was the Baron von Steuben and Thaddeus Kaluski, who was the Polish cavalry officer. There were a number of out-of-work Europeans, because there was peace in Europe at the time, who came over here to help the colonists. But they had one thing in common: they wanted to get rid of the British. And he risked everything. His family, his wife was pregnant when he left. He had a fortune. He was subject to arrest. The King of France had told him that if he left the country to help the colonists, he would arrest him. But he risked everything to come over, and within a month he had met George Washington. They had become friends. George Washington let him fight in his first battle, and he did an excellent job. And they became such close friends, intimate friends, that they bonded for the rest of the war. And Lafayette was trusted by George Washington. He sent him down to Virginia when the British Army was advancing up from the Carolinas to the breadbasket of the country to try to stop Cornwallis from taking over the food supplies that were needed by the Continental Army. And it was thanks to Lafayette, who went back to France and got the king to send the French Navy, to send the French Army, and siege equipment, where they were able to trap Cornwallis at Yorktown. And the British said, this is too time-consuming, too expensive, it's tying us up, and we still are fighting the French in other areas which are much more valuable, such as in the Caribbean, in Haiti and other places in the Caribbean which were producing sugar. And the colonies were producing nothing more than tobacco and cotton. So they decided, well, we'll grant them their independence.
So is it safe to say that without the Marquis de Lafayette, we might still be flying the Union Jack here?
Absolutely. There's no question about it.
Wow. 19 years old. That's remarkable.
Well, it is, and that's just not my opinion. There are over 30 cities in the United States named for Lafayette.
Mm-hmm.
We welcomed him back to this country in 1824. James Monroe was president at the time. He traveled around at that time in 1824, there were 24 states. He traveled to all of them, and in each of them he was given a parade and treated like the guest of the nation, which he was. And he was the very first person that the United States of America made a citizen. So this young 19-year-old boy who had helped our country achieve its liberty was made a citizen of the United States. Only in the entire history of the United States, over 200 years, there were only 3 people, and he was the first.
Wow. We're speaking with David Weitzmann, the author of Living a Life That Matters, a memoir of the Marquis de Lafayette. And Mr. Weitzmann's also an attorney with a lot of experience in civil rights. We've got about a couple of minutes here. Can you tell us a little bit about your background in civil rights and how does the current Black Lives Matter and Ferguson and all of these events compare?
Well, there's always something. It's like a rose garden. You clip some petals and more grow back. And there's always problems. The nature of the problems keep changing. One of my first big cases was representing a young man in the 60s by the name of Abbie Hoffman.
Oh, yes.
Who wore an American flag as a shirt. And I was watching Donald Trump give a talk the other day on TV, and seated right behind him was a man wearing an American flag shirt and an American flag hat. So, that was an old battle that nobody even thinks about it. You go to any beach, you'll see people wearing American flag this or that. In those days, it was a big something. People made a lot of fuss about it. So the issues are always changing. Back in the 60s, we didn't know about drones. We didn't know about cell phones. We didn't know about thermography. So technology changes. The techniques of law enforcement change, of the CIA. We have the whole ways of fighting wars have changed. Mm-hmm. We used to have battleships, and basically with missiles and drones, they become antiquated. We have atom bombs now, and so it makes horses and swords antiquated. We don't use those anymore. So things change, and
I'm sorry, go ahead.
And politicians and the public has to adjust.
Absolutely. Well, there's a lot to be learned here from our history, the story of the Marquis de Lafayette. You can find it in Living a Life That Matters, a memoir of the Marquis de Lafayette by David M. Weitzmann, available online and at bookstores across the country. Mr. Weitzmann, thanks for joining us, and keep up the good work.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for having me.
You bet. When we come back, we've got time for an interview with Joy Beckerman. She was at the Normal booth for the Seattle Hemp Fest. She's the hemp expert that we all know and love. And then we'll have Doug McVeigh from Drug War Facts delivering an impassioned speech at the McWilliams stage. Next in the Radical Rant.
You're tuned into the Russ Belville Show, the voice of the marijuana nation. The Russ Belville Show, the National Wildlife Refuge for marijuana unicorns.
At Herbie's Cannabis Seeds, we pride ourselves on bringing you the best quality seeds from the world's most respected cannabis seed producers, all at the lowest online prices. You can find Herbie's Seeds at herbiesheadshop.com. All cannabis seeds are sold as souvenirs and as a means of preserving cannabis genetics. Herbie's Seeds in no way intends to condone, promote, or incite the use of illegal or controlled substances. We strongly urge all prospective customers to check their national laws prior to placing an order. Herbie's Seeds at herbiesheadshop.com. Proud sponsors of the Russ Belville Show and 420 Radio.
You know Herb Thrasher from the Herb Thrasher Flower Hour. Now get ready for Herb Age Designs for the proud cannabis consumer. Herb Age Designs, lifestyle gear for the 420 friendly. Herb Age Designs, we've got Frisbee golf discs and durable hemp gear. Herb Age Designs, we've got shot glasses, drinking glasses, coffee mugs, and beer cozies. Check us out on Facebook and online at herbagedesigns.com. And follow Herb Age and Herb Thrasher on Twitter.
420 Radio, your ticket to the High Times Cannabis Cups.
We must wage what I have called total war against public enemy number one.
I support a change in law to end federal criminal penalties for possession of up to 1 ounce of marijuana.
That marijuana, pot, grass, whatever you want to call it, is probably the most dangerous drug.
Some think there won't be room for them in jail. We'll make room.
I experimented with marijuana a time or two, and I didn't like it and didn't inhale.
One major responsibility is to encourage people to use less drugs.
Entirely legitimate topic for debate.
Radical Rant. In the Radical Rant, we go back to the Seattle Hemp Fest, where we have Joy Beckerman at the normal booth, followed by an impassioned speech from Doug McVeigh of Drug War Facts.
Radical Russ here at the Seattle Hemp Fest, day one. It's after 1:30, and it has done nothing but rain here at the Seattle Hemp Fest. We have been rained out, no bands, no speakers so far, just nothing but rain. So I have camped out here in the normal booth, and the normal booth this year isn't up against the water, it's facing directly in front of the main stage. So we can see as all of the main stage personnel have been covering up the amps and the speakers, and everybody's just drenched here. Plenty of umbrellas out. Nothing but gray skies, and we're here at the normal booth. Keith Straub is taking pictures. Keith Straub, founder of Normal, taking pictures with a young man who was a Montana Normal volunteer. We got Kevin Oliver here from Washington Normal, Danica Noble from Normal Women of Washington, Joy Beckerman from Hemp Ace International and Normal Women, and Rick Cusick from High Times Magazine. He made his way out here from New York City. So we are doing our best to enjoy ourselves at the rained out Seattle Hemp Fest. It doesn't look as if it's going to get any brighter or nicer out there. It's pretty much going to be a rainy day. Danica needs a tall person. You need a tall person? Let's see. All right, where are we going here? All right, right there. So Normal Women of Washington. We got Joy. What do you think of your Hemp Fest so far, Joy? Darling Joy.
Oops.
Hello.
I'm in the microphone.
You're in it. How you doing?
I love you, Russ, and we're so glad you're here, 420 Radio.
I'm so glad to be here. Danica is here. Hello, Danica.
Hello, Russ Belville.
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Excellent.
And Normal Women of Washington are representing. We've got the green bandanas and the pink bandanas. Is this the Bloods and the Crips of the women's marijuana movement?
No, we are unified in our pinks and greens.
I'd say it's for color coordinating for the right shoes, right?
Trying to figure out something that rhymes with Bloods and Crips. I'm going with loves and... I'll get there.
Buds. And rips.
And rip. Buds and rips.
Buds and rips.
There we go. And speaking of which, when you're sitting here in the normal booth with these nationally known activists that are here, you know, it's HempFest any day you're in a normal booth. Any day you're hanging out with the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws, it's HempFest.
And I'm looking at the Normal donation jar, and they've already filled up that jar. Lots of cash donations here. We had one guy that stopped by, dropped a sizable donation, said, "This is how I launder my drug money." It's like, okay, whatever, as long as we're making the money.
And the criminal attorneys appreciate that very much.
That's right. And we got Normal hats here that are looking pretty cool. Very nice. Normal t-shirts, of course, the famous gold leaf pin. And it looks like a Normal, concentrate container.
That's what I'm going with.
Little plastic.
Get one of these.
screw cap concentrate container. So we're not sure whether or not we'll be recording any speakers or bands today. We have yet to see. We did get Tina Hendricks, the niece of Jimi Hendrix, doing the Star Spangled Banner on a green violin, wearing a gorgeous green dress, and running it through distortion, so it was pretty cool. And that's been the only musical performance so far. From that point on, the rain has come down, the stage has been shut down, and we are rain-bound. That's all right. We've got weed. We've been smoking it. We've also got, like I said, Rick Cusick is here in the booth. Rick's on the phone. He's on the phone. So we got Keith here, and Kevin. And now I'm in the way, so we'll back up just a minute. We'll get more with everyone here in just a minute.
Let's hear it for Doug McVeigh.
Steve, thank you. Keep putting your hands together, because these people do a tremendous job, and you owe them a round of applause. People like Steve and the band here, Warning Danger, and all these other volunteers. And give yourselves a hand, because you're here, you're doing stuff. You've made a first step. You're actually becoming activists. By coming out here and showing your support for legalization for drug policy reform, you're one of the reasons why Washington State led the country. Your vote back in 2012 on I-502, when you legalized weed, to an extent, arguably, but you made a big difference, and to the rest of the world, what happened was huge. It was resounding. You helped change the dialogue. You helped change the whole scene. I'm sorry that you had to take the bullet by swallowing a really bad law, and I'm sorry that they're messing with it further. We just got legalization down in Oregon. We've had a medical program for many years. The legislature convened this session. They said, well, we're not going to touch the medical program because that's sacred. And, will of the voters, we're not going to do anything anywhere else, and everything will be fine. And basically, they passed laws completely revising the medical program, cutting limits, and then they also have made some changes in the adult use program. Well, political expediency. The point is, we're not going to get the perfect law yet. We're just going to try and make the best we can, and then you have to work on it to improve it. You've got to organize and keep fighting to make it better, because the job isn't over. I mean, yes, you legalize pot. That is the good news. That is great news. I have good news for you today. Sorry, tomorrow's Sunday. We do the spirituality thing. At Hemposium, tomorrow, 10:45, spirituality, medical use, and recreational use, can they coexist? The answer is they have to. I haven't figured out how they're going to, but at least I've got the question right. Oh yeah, I digress. The point is, the good news is you legalized pot. You created a ripple effect. It's gone around the world. There's a change everywhere right now, and it's continuing. That's kind of part of the bad news, is that your job ain't over. It is way not over. You partly legalized marijuana. Congratulations. Now, there are a lot of problems. The racist nature of the laws, the reasons why this thing was created in the first place, why prohibition started. Awful, awful things. We've started to right a wrong. That's great. But you know what? The wrongs continue. You still have racial biases in the drug violations that you see happening around the city. There's a horrible racial bias in the way the criminal justice system is done. The police are good at catching the usual suspects, going out to the people they think are committing crimes, and that's why fewer than 1 in 5 of any of the property crimes that get committed in this country are ever cleared by an arrest. That's why fewer than 50% of all the violent crimes in this country are ever cleared by an arrest, is because the cops aren't arresting the people who are actually committing the crimes. Because if you look like me, you probably could get away with murder. I haven't, just for the record. My point is, you did some great stuff. The job ain't over. It's only just starting. But the tipping point. The tipping point's been reached. Now we can talk about this stuff openly. Now we can say what is true. Decriminalizing drugs is a good idea. Marijuana has to be legal. It has to be regulated. Decriminalizing cocaine, decriminalizing heroin. No one should go to jail because they are hooked on meth. They need treatment, maybe substitution treatment. We have that with heroin addicts. We don't have it very much, and there's not enough slots, and it's highly regulated, and it's tough to get into, and there's no money. But those are problems we can fix that work. In Canada, they have an experiment. It used to be called the North American Opiate Medication Initiative. We were supposed to try that in this country, but our drug official shot that idea down because they don't really care about addicts getting better. And that's where the problem lies. And that's why our job's not done. There's a lot of change we need to make, and we're on the right track. And it's people like this who are going to continue fighting so that marijuana users can have their freedoms and they'll be able to grow a few plants at home, and you won't have a corporate monopoly selling you weed at inflated prices because it's not freaking plutonium and nor is it OxyContin. And you'll have other people too. The People's Harm Reduction Alliance is a group in this city. I saw Shiloh from there yesterday, I think. Excellent organization. They do work in harm reduction and syringe exchange. These are important things. They're helping to keep people alive. That's a good thing, right? So these are people who deserve your support. You'll find a few different nonprofits working here in this place. People like Normal. I don't know if the Drug Policy Alliance comes out here anymore. They used to. But then again, it's so big. My gosh, it's so big. 100,000 of you people in a day. It's insane. So you're to be congratulated. You started a revolution. It's the political revolution. See, the cultural evolution was already there. Weed was kind of a joke to a lot of folks. Why it was illegal? Well, it's hard to explain, but it is an inertia and all that kind of stuff. But now it's legalized. You've actually started the political revolution. And that's what's important. But like I say, it's not enough. You're here for a concert. Warning, Danger will be playing in just a few minutes. I promise. They're back here. I saw them. They're going to play. You're going to knock your socks off. But before that, you got to hear some stuff. You got to learn some stuff. I have a website. Pardon me. I'm thinking about a friend. Got a website called drugwarfacts.org. Excellent resource. You should use it. Gives you all the information that you could want. But information isn't enough. I mean, the facts have always been the same. Reform is the right way to go. Legalization is the only way to go. Decriminalization, at least. All those facts are true. They've never changed. What's changed is more and more people care about them. It's because of your efforts. More and more people care about this stuff. And some of us, many of us, have a passion to do something about it. See, I wasn't going to do that. But, you see, I'm starting to cry. This stage is being rechristened. Our friend Kevin volunteered here for years. He ran security as a constant fixture at the Hemposium stage. He's a friend. He's one of the reasons I loved coming up here. I look forward every year. Damn it, he died this year. So the stage is being rechristened the Kevin Black Memorial Stage, and it's an honor to be up here. Fellow cancer sufferer, I'm still around. It's not fair. But I digress. It's because of the passion of people like Kevin, and of Steve, and of Vivian, and of Gary, and of Rachel, and all these hundreds and hundreds of people. There's more than 1,000 volunteers here this weekend. There's 100% or more people who meet out through the year making all this happen. We've got 100 or so bands. There are a bunch of us who come out here to speak. We don't get paid. I'm not plugging a book. I'm not trying to sell you a CD. I'm not trying to sell you on my business. I do have a website. It's called drugwarfacts.org. We're a private foundation. We don't take memberships. We don't ask for donations. We don't have ads. We just want you to learn something. Because that's what it's about. That's what Jack taught me. He was about the initiative process. He was all about that initiative process, and it wasn't just because it was a good approach. I mean, he was smart. He was smart. But there was a strategy there because it involved education, and he understood that you don't just do the stupid initiative. I'm keeping it clean because I do radio. You don't just do these initiatives every year because you think you can win, because you've gotten the 65% in the polls or the 60 that says it's going to do it. You don't just do it because it's a safe bet. You do it to educate people and to teach them. And everyone that you get a signature from, you're talking to and you're educating and teaching them about this stuff. And he was really good at teaching. That's what it's all about. And that's what this is about. You are at the world's largest protestival. You are activists. You are advocates. This is Steve Fun Hadley. He is your MC. And welcome, Seattle, to the Kevin Black Memorial Stage. I thank you very much. Please give. They have donation buckets. They got a thing. Give them money.
Thank you, Doug McVeigh.
Oh, yes. Good time at the McWilliams Stage, now rechristened the Kevin Black Stage. Pretty much the rock stage at Seattle Hemp Fest. Hey, Hey, if you miss Seattle Hemp Fest, make sure you start planning now for next year. It's always the third weekend in August. You got nothing else to do. Book your plane ticket now. Come out to Seattle Hemp Fest. I want to meet some more of you people. Met a bunch of you, actually. A lot of fans of the Russ Belville show meeting up and shaking hands, getting free stickers. It was a good time. It's all the time we got for Hour 1's podcast, but you live listeners, stay tuned for Hour 2 Toker Talk Radio. We'll let down what's left of my hair and continue with the Seattle Hemp Fest review. We got Jorge Cervantes, we got Lindsay Reinhart, the band Red Wing Blackbirds, and an extended interview with Normal's Keith Straub. For everyone here at Rolla J Studios in beautiful, legal Portland, Oregon, I'm Radical Russ. Until next time, take care of each other, tokers.
This is the Russ Belville Show. The Russ Belville Show is blogging and podcasting daily at radicalruss.com.
You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it, and it goes down smooth.